Washington State University. Go Cougs!
Hello everyone. In this video, we're going to cover Lesson 2 of the Activity Change Detection module on Fitbit activity data. This is a continuation of the previous lesson where we learned how to authenticate ourselves with the Fitbit API. Now we're ready to download the time series activity data from Fitbit. The activities that are available for download include calories, steps, distance, floors, elevation, and heart rate data. I'd like to point out that depending on which Fitbit model you're using, you may not have access to all of these activities. For example, I use a Fitbit Charge with heart rate, but not all Fitbit Charges have heart rate sensors. So for those models, there's not going to be any activity heart data to download. I've gone ahead and copied and pasted our code from the previous lesson that authenticated ourselves with the Fitbit API. Let's go ahead and run this code to get up to speed with where we left off in our previous lesson. A new tab is going to open up saying that I am now authorized to access the Fitbit API. I don't need to log in again because I'm still logged in from our previous lesson. Now we can see down here that Gina is printed. This is display name where we queried the Fitbit object with the user profile get method. And we grab the username and the user's display name, which for me is Gina. So it appears that everything is set up and ready to go. We're going to use the off-the client Fitbit reference quite a bit in this lesson. So first things first, go ahead and think of a date where you want to download our minute-by-minute step data for. I chose an arbitrary day, which is February 23rd, 2017. On this particular day, I walked 12,579 steps, which you can see from this screenshot of the Fitbit dashboard. Do you have your date ready? Go ahead and make a string called date that is going to store your date in year-month-day format. So mine is 2017-02-23 for February 23rd, 2017. Then we're going to go ahead and make a call to the Fitbit API with our off-the-client object. So this is going to return a dictionary, which I'm going to call intraday steps. And the method we're going to call this time is going to be intraday time series. And the first argument is a string representing what data do we want, which is activity steps, and the optional argument base date, which we'll set to date. Now, if you don't specify base date, the default is going to be today's date. Next, let's go ahead and extract the data, the minute-by-minute data in the form of a list by querying our intraday steps dictionary with a few specific keys. So intraday steps, the first one is going to be activities-steps-intraday, and the second key is going to be dataset. And I'm going to print out the very first item in this list so you can see the format of the list. Each item in data list is a dictionary of two key value pairs. The key time maps to a string representing the hour, minute, second timestamp, and the key value maps to an integer representing the number of steps taken at this minute. So now we want to go ahead and construct a series that's going to represent all 1,440 time values in our data list object, our data list list. I'm going to write a function to do this so that it's reusable for other activities besides steps. Let's call it extract intraday series, and we're going to extract it from a data list. Let's declare two parallel arrays called timestamps and values. And for each data point in data list, we're going to append to timestamps the data point's time, and we're going to append to values the data point's value. Now we have these parallel lists, which we can use to construct a series. I have import pandas PD at the top of my code cell. We'll make it from values and set the index for each value to come from timestamps. Return this series, and now we can go ahead and get a step series by calling extract intraday series, passing in our data list. And we know this particular data list stores step information. Okay, I'm going to add a print statement here that is going to print out the total number of steps in our step series. We see that the total steps taken by me on February 23rd, 2017 is 12,579, which matches what we anticipated from the dashboard. So hopefully your numbers line up as well. Now, we've written code that's going to extract minute-by-minute steps data and form it into a series. But there are other activities that we can download data for, including calorie, steps, distance, floors, elevation, and heart. So let's write some code that's going to extract series for all of the activities and stack them together in a data frame that's going to represent all of the activity minute-by-minute data for a particular day. So let's first write a list that's called activities. That's going to be string representations for all of the activities that we want to download, those that I just listed off. So first one is calories, steps, distance, floors, elevation, and heart. We're going to pass this list into a function that is going to is going to collect the data from the Fitbit API, similar to how we did up here, and it's going to extract a series from the data list by calling our extract intraday series function. So let's call this function collect intraday activity data. And we'll need a Fitbit object, call auth client. We'll need a date to collect daily activities for, and we'll need a list for all the activities that we want to collect. So I'm going to declare a dictionary called ActivityDict, which is going to be key value pairs where the keys are strings representing activities and the values are series. And then it'll just be a one-liner to convert our activity dictionary to our activity data frame. So let's go through each activity in activities. We'll need to construct a resource string that has activities and a / appended in front of the activity. And then we'll pass this resource string into our call to intraday time series. So let's copy and paste this code. And instead of intraday steps, let's just call this intraday data. And instead of passing in activities steps hard-coded, we're instead going to pass in that resource string that we just constructed. We'll have to do something similar here. Instead of hard coding steps, we're going to add our activity string label. And we need to change this from intraday steps to generally intraday data. Now we're ready to construct a series. So we'll call extract intraday series, passing in our data list. And let's add this series to our activity dictionary. So activity dict sub activity is going to map to this series we just constructed. And at the end of this loop, we're ready to make a data frame from activity dict. And let's return df. And we can call this function now collect intraday activity data, passing in our authd client, our date, and our activities. Looks like we have an extra double quote here. It's an easy fix. And let's print out df.head and perhaps df.describe, just so we can see what this data frame looks like. Okay, so here are our first 5 rows, which correspond to our first 5 minutes. And here's calories, distance, elevation, floors, heart, and steps. And here's our output from describe. So we see our count, 1440 for all of our columns, the average, standard deviation, some percentiles, etc. So this looks great. We have minute-by-minute time series data for several different activities. And I will point out that this is a standard string index. This is not a date time index. In the future, we may want to consider changing this to a date time index. Perhaps when we read this data in a later lesson. So we can do that, let's write this data out to a CSV file. I already have my file name listed here. You can choose what your file name is going to be, and we'll do df.toCSV and simply pass in our file name. And I run this, and now I have saved this data frame to a file so that we can use it in future lessons. If you'd like to know more about anything Fitbit related, perhaps how we knew what keys to use in our dictionaries representing our JSON responses, go ahead and head over to dev.fitbit.com and click on API Docs. And here you can see all of the information that you need to know about how to use the Fitbit API.